or $3,500 for a mailbox that was the wrong color. That's how this nightmare started. My wife looked the HOA president in the eye and just said no. That one word sent her into meltdown mode, and within minutes she was dialing the cops on us. When the officer showed up, he froze, went pale, and stammered, "Judge, you live here." That was the moment everything flipped, the moment Kayla Sanders realized she'd just picked the absolute wrong family to mess with. We'd only been in Meadowbrook Heights a few weeks, still getting used to the spotless lawns and manicured hedges, when Kayla strutted up our driveway at 7 in the morning. Clipboard under her arm, navy blazer like she was leading a parade, she rang the doorbell twice, sharp, authoritative, like she was announcing herself to peasants. My wife Julie answered the door calm as ever while I hovered upstairs with my coffee. Kayla launched into her speech 17 violations fines, totaling $3,500 payable in 48 hours. She rattled them off with this smug confidence. Our roses were the wrong shade of pink, the mailbox wasn't bronze but black, and my favorite, a $500 processing fee for daring to move in without her approval. I thought I'd misheard. Who charges thousands of dollars for flowers and a mailbox? But Julie didn't flinch. She smiled that patient smile and asked, "Could you show me which municipal code authorizes the HOA to impose these fines?" Kayla twitched like someone had poked a nerve. She wasn't used to pushback, definitely not from someone who knew exactly which thread to pull. As Kayla droned on, our elderly neighbor Mrs. Collins cracked her door open, leaned out and whispered, just loud enough for us to hear, "She destroyed the Morgan family. They had to sell their house for half its value." Then she slipped back inside. That one whisper told me we weren't Kayla's first victims. And suddenly, I wasn't just annoyed, I was afraid. After Kayla left, heels clicking like she'd won some victory, I turned to Julie. "Just tell her who you are," I pleaded. "End this now." Because here's the thing, Julie isn't just my wife. She's a federal district judge. She takes down drug lords and corrupt officials for a living. But she just looked at me calm as a surgeon before the first incision and said, "Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes." Over the next week, Kayla escalated like a cartoon villain. First it was $8,000 in updated violations, then $20,000 in legal fees, late penalties, lien prep costs. And then she brought backup Detective Morrison, dirty cop written all over him. He stood on our porch puffed up like he owned the place and said, "Some residents are concerned about escalation. Things could get serious if you keep resisting." My heart dropped. This wasn't just HOA nonsense anymore. Now we had a cop threatening us with fabricated charges. I lay awake that night wondering if we'd made a mistake buying here. I even caught myself thinking, maybe we should just pay, maybe we should sell, maybe we should cut our losses before it got worse. I felt helpless, angry, like I was failing to protect Julie from a fight that was spinning out of control. Was I naive to think we could stand up to this machine? But Julie wasn't shaken. She started documenting everything, photographing notices, saving emails, recording conversations. She reached out quietly to allies. Mrs. Collins had 2 years' worth of records tucked away, and Tom Rodriguez, a board member with a conscience, admitted the fines were never voted on by the board. He'd been keeping his own notes, waiting for someone brave enough to confront Kayla. Together they laid it out. This wasn't random harassment. It was organized theft. Fake violations, inflated contractor estimates, city officials rubber-stamping nonsense, and Morrison providing the muscle. Julie spread the evidence across our dining room table like a general preparing for war. "Blake," she said, eyes sharp, "this isn't just an HOA scam, it's a criminal network, and Kayla just handed me everything I need to take it down." By Saturday, Kayla was staging her grand performance. She pulled up in an oversized SUV, clipboard in hand, surrounded by fake witnesses and flanked by Morrison, trying to look intimidating. The neighborhood gathered quietly, some curious, some terrified, all of them conditioned to fear her. She raised her voice so everyone could hear. "Mrs. Parker has refused to comply with community standards. Officer Rodriguez will be conducting an official police assessment." She was smirking like she'd already won. But she had no idea She'd just brought in the wrong Rodriguez. Officer Rodriguez, Tom's brother, stepped out of his cruiser with a professional calm, not knowing he was walking straight into the finale of a federal sting. He nodded at Kayla, pulled out his notepad, and turned toward our porch. Is the homeowner available to provide her side of the story? That's when Julie stepped outside, coffee mug in hand, looking like any suburban mom on a Saturday morning. The moment Rodriguez's eyes landed on her, everything changed. He froze, pen dangling midair, his face going pale as recognition hit. The notepad slipped from his fingers and clattered on the driveway. "Wait," he whispered, eyes wide. "Judge, you live here." His voice carried across the street. Every neighbor heard it. Kayla's smug grin evaporated. She stammered, "Judge? What judge? She's just a homeowner." But Rodriguez straightened, removed his hat, and said loud enough for everyone, "This is Federal District Judge Julie Parker. I've testified in her courtroom dozens of times." It was like a bomb went off. Morrison's face collapsed into sheer panic. He realized instantly that all his threats, all his intimidation, had just become evidence of federal crimes witnessed by half the neighborhood. Kayla looked around desperate, but there was no escape. Julie stepped forward, her voice calm but cutting through the air. "Officer Rodriguez, I have documented evidence of conspiracy, wire fraud, and civil rights violations under color of law. Detective Morrison has abused his badge to intimidate residents. Ms. Sanders has been running a fraudulent enterprise that's stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars." She handed over a thick folder, weeks of meticulous evidence timelines, financial records, witness statements. Rodriguez flipped it open, his expression hardening as he realized he was holding the key to the biggest corruption case of his career. "Your Honor," he said formally, "should I contact the FBI field office immediately?" And that was the nail in Kayla's coffin. Before she could sputter another excuse, unmarked vehicles rolled up, agents in FBI jackets emerged, and the quiet cul-de-sac turned into the set of a federal raid. Neighbors peeked from windows, then stepped outside as they realized the reign of fear was ending. Mrs. Collins cried openly. Tom recorded everything for the official record. Families who'd been silent victims for years started speaking up. Kayla screamed, "I didn't know. I thought she was just a housewife." But that only made it worse. An admission that she targeted people based on who she thought she could crush. Morrison tried to backpedal toward his car, but agents intercepted him. Detective Morrison 1 announced, "You're under arrest for conspiracy, wire fraud, and civil rights violations under color of law." Kayla's hands were cuffed next. She kicked, she shouted, but it was pathetic, like watching a tyrant stripped of her crown. The very clipboard she'd used to terrorize the neighborhood clattered to the pavement, abandoned. And just like that, the empire she'd built on fear collapsed in front of everyone. I stood there on the porch, heart racing, adrenaline flooding through me, watching the woman who'd made our lives hell get dragged away in handcuffs. Watching the dirty cop who'd tried to scare us, now stammering like a schoolboy caught cheating. And next to me, Julie, calm, steady, holding her coffee like none of this surprised her. Because it hadn't. She'd orchestrated the whole thing, letting Kayla dig her own grave until the evidence was airtight. I realized then that what had felt like chaos to me had been strategy to her all along. She hadn't just been protecting us, she'd been protecting every family Kayla ever targeted, every victim too scared to fight back. And that's where the story ends, with the HOA tyrant in cuffs, the corrupt cop exposed, and justice delivered on the front lawn of our perfect suburban neighborhood. Some battles you win by paying up or backing down, but the ones that matter, you win by standing your ground and refusing to be bullied.